And hello and welcome back to Fate Hollow Ataraxia. Sorry about the delay in everything. I have been very busy and it already delayed stuff last week and it just got busier. It's good sort of busy because basically for all intents and purposes I got essentially a promotion. My career's moving forward. But it's left me very busy. So I haven't really even been able to sit down to record, let alone edit or anything till basically the end of this week, so hopefully this will even go up tomorrow relative to where I'm recording. Things should hopefully calm down in the next week and return to some semblance of normalcy. Hopefully. So, last time, we got to a point where we were heading out with Lancer to confront all our fun people at the church. Okay. Are we going to redo that battle then, basically? We finally met on the hill road leading towards the church. Lancer kept his promise.
Yo, nanda, 時間よりちょい早いじゃねえか。
What are you talking about? I'm like a week late with this episode. His jokes might be casual, but his armor isn't. It was half a year ago that I last saw him in full battle array. Yeah, that's right. It's already been half a year since the war ended.
それでどう戦うんだ？相手の戦法は知ってるって言ってたけど、対策は立ってるのか？
Stopping the as of yet unseen master's trump card, Froggerock, is the key to this battle.
いや、フラガラックは封じられねえ。ありゃあよくできた迎撃砲具だ。真正直に戦えばまず負ける。こと切り札の出し合いなら、フラガラックは最強の一つと言っていい。
Yeah, it's just limited in how many times you can use it, which means a battle royale is much harder than a one-on-one. So Lancer says, there's no way to defeat Froggerock. That thing is a missile that reacts to the enemy's trump card and is released when a clash occurs. Thus, to defeat Bazett, one must not use one's own noble phantasm. If you restrain your own trump card, Froggerock's power will be effectively halved.
それだけ？
それだけ。こっちが宝具さえ使わなけりゃ、フラガラックは波の宝具だ。まあ、向こうは好きに切り札を使えるんで、宝具なしじゃちときついんだが。
Wait, so are you gonna try to fight with something outside of your lance? I'm sure you're skilled, but that look in Lancer's eyes tell me there's no way he would lose with this strategy. Huh. Come to think of it, amateur magic and regular range attacks like arrows and knife throwing won't even scratch him. His combat skills also superior to Bazett's. Should he fight consistently, victory should not be a problem. However,
あの女とは宝具で蹴りをつける。
great.
すぐに済むから、お前は離れて様子を見てろ。
Okay. Worst case, we redo it again. Froggerock is undefeatable. Despite this fact, Lancer still rose to the sword's challenge. We climb up the hill towards the makeshift arena. I mean, I suspect he's basically going to go down with her, and that's his way of settling it too. Same time, his death with her death as as it should have happened in the first place in the war before, that sort of thing. The moonlight is dim and my eyes cloud a little when I look up. The moon is dark tonight. Perhaps the stars are close. In the void of the night, where one can touch the darkness with a stretch of the hand, there are two figures awaiting our arrival. No longer knowing how many times this has occurred before, the Lady Magus, followed by the Dark Shadow Avenger, fixes her stare onto the enemy as always. One thing we never confirmed is if you're seeing us how we should be seen, because there was that whole thing at the beginning relating to that other family that has to do with these different, houses, right? And was it the house? Whatever. That different family. The important thing is we saw like the Sakura and Tosaka looking people, but they clearly weren't them, so are you even seeing us properly as us? Or do you see Lancer as Lancer? As if seeing a ghost, her sight becomes transfixed onto Lancer's figure. Well, she seems to at least notice something. Lancer pays no attention to the Magus. With his index finger, he estimates the distance to his foe. 1, 2, 3, 4. The distance is about 10 meters. He steps into throwing range and points the tip of his spear to the ground.
Eoro, Nido, Ansur, Ying.
Interesting. Are those symbols from an old language where he's from? Is that some sort of spell? A square with a rune at each corner appears, but it doesn't feel like magic at work. I guess rune... I have no idea about how runes work. Not moving a step away from his position, Lancer swings his spear once in the direction of his opponent. Your move. No names are exchanged. The battle's aura speaks for itself.
Avenger. あれはなんだ?
Bazett asks the shadow. There's also the fact that we keep seeing Avenger as a shadow, too. So obviously there's some semblance of perception variance between everyone, yeah?
何言って、サーバントだよ。
そんなはずはない。あんなサーバントは今までいなかった。あれは何のサーバントだ、アベンジャー。セイバーでもない。アーチャーでもない。ライダーでもキャスターでもアサシンでもない。あれは。
それこそ一目瞭然だ。
Well, obviously it's the magical girl class.
なあマスター。あの獲物を見て、まだ何もわからないのか?
The shadow cackles. But now, the Lady Magus has lost all her fighting spirit. Gazing at the enemy in front of her, she's about to burst into tears, not even sure why herself. Then Lancer's cold words pierce her heart.
おい、今からあんたを殺すわけだが。
She lifts her fist, as if she is afraid. Her resolve is completely gone.
待ってください。私はあなたと戦う理由はない。
Don't you though? Same reason you've been fighting everyone else?
あなただって私と戦う理由は
あるだろう。あんたは聖杯戦争に勝つために来た。サーバントを全て倒すまで戦いは終わらない。あんたは今、俺と殺し合うためにここにいる。
The shadow laughs. A smile that says, that's right.
違う。私はあなたとは戦わない。そうだ。あなたとは戦わない。あなたとは戦わない。あなたとは戦わない。だってあなた私のこと知ってる？
知らねえよ。あんたみたいな負け犬に覚えはない。
Ooh, you could take that either way, where he's revoking his quote-unquote knowledge of her on the basis of either just fucking with her, or it could be more a matter of directly telling her that her current state is not worthy of the previous person he knew. A simple sentence. Her knees nearly give out, like a puppet with its strings cut.
では、あなたは私の敵か。
Oh, is this the last thing that was holding her together, maybe? Not the support of strings, but her own will keeps her standing.
そうだ。この後ゴウラ、ルーン使いなら意味がわかろうよ。
その陣を敷いた戦士に敗走は許されず、その陣を見た戦士に退却は許されない。我ら赤枝の騎士に伝わる一騎打ちの大金塊だ。
This is the real reason behind the magic that Lancer cast. The Lady Magus resumes her battle pose. The spearman grips the cursed lance tightly with both hands. The air freezes. Lancer's noble phantasm is eagerly waiting for its master's call. And on the other side, 10 meters away from him. A lead-colored sphere is floating behind the Lady Magis's figure. This is a mystery of Bazett Fragamic, the Sword of Fragarak from the Age of Gods. Lancer is well aware of its abilities and also concluded that its limitless countering power cannot be defeated. Yet, having made that judgment, his grip does not weaken.
その心臓
The spearman's arms ripple with strength. It's not a throw. Lancer's own body becomes one with his spear.
アンサラ
The sphere starts expanding. The sword of the gods, protected by a mysterious force, and a certain concept locks onto the spearman's heart.
もらい受ける
A leap and revelation of the true name, all in the same instant. The first to take to the air was the cursed red spear, Kebolg.
甘く見たなサーバント
Fragarak, the sword that alters light, rises to intercept it. The Oath of Ataraxia. I have no idea on that one. The Oath of Ford Fork leaves no room for hesitation. While they're aiming to destroy the enemy with their greatest strike. The points cross, an attack that means death to both of them. The spearman does not have a shield to deflect the sword, and the Magus cannot dodge the lance. However, if they are to strike each other simultaneously, the Lady Magus will come out unharmed. Just by a little. Should the Magus' sword hit its target just a little sooner, the battle will be decided that very instant. Fragarak, the sword that alters light. What this sword gouges out isn't the enemy's heart. It severs the fate of mutual destruction. It is a cursed sword of certain victory. Because of this, it is impossible for Fragarak to attack first. The enemy has to use its trump card before that. That is the prerequisite for releasing Fragarak. The enemy will always move first. Accordingly, even if Fragarak defeats the enemy in one blow, the Lady Magus will be simultaneously destroyed by the opponent's double phantasm. What sounds like a certain kill is a mutual attack made with the premise of one's own death. Yeah. However, Possessed Sword reverses all of that. It is released immediately after the activation of the enemy's Noble Phantasm, yet no matter how fast the opposing weapon, it will always reach its target first, taking the enemy's life. A Noble Phantasm that delivers the final blow in a thin, needle-thin concentrated blast. That alone deserves praise. But its truly deadly power lies in its special ability. That which comes later cuts first. I mean, Lancer is technically just throwing the spear, right? There is a limit to the speed. Like that second name implies, Fragarak warps the idea of cause and effect, rewriting its own attack as the event that occurred first. So this comes from a similar background as Lancer's lance, yeah? And its whole thing was that it manipulates cause and effect to ensure that the effect happens by altering the cause, right? And the result? No matter how great a Noble Phantasm may be, the dead cannot use it. Fair? But what if it's already out? The one who is killed first cannot counterattack. Fragarak is a mystic code that exaggerates this fact. Is this just... I'm trying to think, like, is this something that, like, spawns from the lineage that, Lancer is a part of? Like, this sort of concept of manipulating cause and effect and stuff like that? Or is this just something that the writers, whatever, like to pull back and use as just like a concept of how this stuff works? I don't know the lore behind Lancer's stuff well enough to know if this is a theme in how those like amazing legendary weapons from that background work or something like that. It is conceptual curse that distorts fate. That weapon is a cursed sword of reversal that can nullify any attack. With the time displayed, the trick of the gods has no equal, and therefore, Lancer who releases spear first will not be accepted from this curse. The sword of the war god is approaching. Once Fragarak is let loose, it cannot be stopped. The moment he used Scapegoat against Fargarak, he had already lost. The Spearman is well aware of this. To survive an attack made by the sword of the War God, one needs to possess an auto-resurrecting Noble Phantasm, or more than one life. In other words, something that is resurrected after being killed would be Fargarak's natural enemy. Of course, Lancer does not have anything of the sort. Again, it feels like he's going into this with the intent to die. I wasn't thinking that he potentially intended to die without actually doing anything to her. The Spearman knew the conclusion of the battle he entered before it even started. At that time, for only a split second, he thought he saw the man in front of him waver.
言いたかないんだけどさ、割と切羽詰まってんだわこっち。時間制限があるとは思っていなかった。
He had no way of understanding what it meant. Only...
頼むよ。このままだとつまらない結果になる。彼女がそういう風になるのは嫌なんだ。
That man's complaint was one he had experienced as well. It's an old story. Perhaps I wanted to be killed by your hands. In a serene voice, as in a prayer, the witch from the realm of shadows smiled. Oddly enough, that's when he received his demonic spear. The witch was no longer human. She had excelled too much as a warrior, been too knowledgeable in sorcery, slain too many men, gods, and spirits. The woman who had been the only teacher that the Hound of Kulin ever looked up to had been saddled with a fate where even her own death was out of her reach. The witch's realm will one day be sundered from the mortal world, reduced to a land of the dead. The reward for a human that became too close to godhood was ascension to a plane that is neither of this world nor the next. What a predicament. I suppose I should have died before I became this way. In the gloomy castle's garden, the witch laughed. It was the same hearty laugh that he was so fond of. The beloved disciple, still but a youth, had finally arrived at the castle by the shortest route. Even so, if only you were born a little earlier. Young, still so young. The witch chuckled. The beloved disciple accepted it as a mature warrior.
悪かったな。
He had intended to live fast, but
どうやら寄り道が過ぎたようだ。
as a man, he had left the woman he loved until it was too late, and regretted it. The war god's sword pierces the spearman's chest. Sharp pain, a feeling he had almost forgotten, briefly fills him with energy. Strength flows into the crumbling fist again. The spear had left behind but one regret. The demonic spear only ever took away the lives of his loved ones. His one and only close friend, his son that grew up in a distant foreign land. But before that, it was meant to kill a single woman. Thinking back, he spent his whole life getting sidetracked. One person is not a substitute for another, but if doing so will save someone, then he might as well accomplish now what he regretted not being able to in his youth. His lips curl into a resolute grin. The spearman grimaces as his heart is torn apart and...
ああ。しかし、どうしてこういい女にばっかり縁がないのかね。
Though late in doing so, he complains about his fate.
取った。
And so the lady matches is confident in her victory. The sword of the war god has hit its target before the enemy's lands. And at that moment, the enemy's attack became an impossible event that would disappear back in time. This is the world's fundamental law. A natural result protected by the absolute order that is time. Yet there's another law for her to learn. Oh! A concept may be defeated by another concept. Spearman is no exception to the curse of time either. It ruptures like a flash of lightning. The sharp tip pierces through her ribcage. The moment it shoots through the heart, the spear becomes 1,000 sharp thorns, destroying the female Magus' body from within.
この槍。
Her body breaks open. Pain and surprise force out her sealed memories. Frog Rock may be a curse that alters the order of events, but this spear is a weapon that truly reverses the cause and effect itself. The moment its true name is revealed, an Ibolg has already pierced the enemy's heart. Thus, even going back in time to kill its master is useless. For a spear that has already held the piercing of the adversary's heart as a result, even the death of its master will not prevent this duty from being fulfilled. Okay. That's what I was originally thinking was going to happen. They really made me think otherwise for a second there, though. Yeah, that's how it was. Her dying brain cannot recognize the enemy in front of her eyes yet. This was a clash between two opposing rules. This man is the only opponent in this world that would revert it to the natural order.
あんたに別れは言っていなかった。
She noticed the spearman before her. A little far. Even if she reaches out as far as she can, she would just barely fail to reach him.
忘れ物だ。これはあんたに返しておく。
The spear is pulled out. With a clank, something hard drops to the ground. Unable to keep upright, the Magus' body collapses. So Lancer's going to die too, right? It seemed like a mutual destruction sort of thing, logically. She falls over in a pool of her own blood, with her pupils already fading. She finds the earring carved from Orn, rolling on the ground. She remembers it. She remembers it, so she manages to reach out and grasp it tightly. The action uses up half of her remaining life, but the feeling of the stone in her palm makes her happy enough for it to be worth it. Lying on the ground, she tries to reach into her pocket, but her arms can no longer move. She cannot take out the amulet she stowed away. She doesn't understand what she's trying to say herself. But the fact that she cannot show what's inside her pocket fills her with so much sorrow, she becomes that much further away from understanding. The spearman is leaving. Eyes full of sorrow, the Magus happily repeats again and again.
私持ってるの持ってるの持ってるの
Oh, my bad. 10 seconds later, even that had stopped. All told, it took 1 minute. Lancer's prediction was painfully accurate.
Would
you like to do it again? Because she's died before and oh my, I see. Oh wow, that yeah, that took your heart. That definitely took your heart. I see you missing a lot more than your heart. Oh boy. Okay. Hey buddy. You willing to do it again? Because, you know, there's this whole situation where we're sort of in a loop and she has died before and I know you killed her, but is that really going to end it? I'll also note that I'm remembering the second opening that came partway through the story, and it looked like there was a bunch of shit happening in that I don't feel like I've seen anything even coming close to happening for. Not that I remember a lot of it, but I remember there being a lot of action, and like, I guess the big thing that stood out to me was like Sakura had like a little bit of a different outfit than normal, and it felt like a bunch of different people were actually fighting, and not a lot of people have actually went and fought during this, so he's using his spear like a walking stick to support his bloodstained body. In any case, the outcome is clear. The only one left is Bazett's servant, Avenger. Without his master, he shouldn't put up too much of a fight.
お見事。で、俺とやる気力は残ってるか、ランサー。
Call Saber really quick. This is when we use our command spell to call Saber, because we got that back. I vaguely remember that coming up, that we still have that in these now.
残ってると言いたいが、こっちの問題で無理そうだな。
Lancer's body is fading away. The battle between Fragrak and the Abolg was one of mutual destruction. Each received a blow, so there's no reason why Lancer would be the only survivor.
悪いな。あとは好きにやってくれ。
Are you talking to me?
だいたい俺の仕事はここまでだろ、小僧。
Maybe this is like the fight with Archer, where the thing that matters is less so whether the loop happens again, but more so that we ensured a situation where this event can occur. That must be a true man's spirit. Also, I'm still not sure who he's talking to between us. Muttering something about losing face, he soon disappears. But what now? Bazett, thought to be the one reproducing the Holy Grail War, is now defeated. There's no dramatic change yet, but we should be freed from the binds of these 4 days at dawn.
まさかバゼットを殺したところで聖杯戦争は終わらない。何しろ俺がいる限り何度でも蘇るからな、そいつは。
Shadow laughs. His master is dead, yet Avenger seems to be unaffected.
お前はまあ待て、そう張り切るな。せっかくバゼットを殺したんだ。とっておきのショータイムが待ってるぜ。
This again. The moon has dyed black. All of a sudden, those beasts have gathered around the church. Fail. I mean...
ってなんだこいつら全然やる気がない。
The beasts aren't moving an inch. The glittering eyes are transfixed not on me, but on the servant. Delighted by the failure of another, distorted by the perverted glee. Yes, again, failed again.
ちきしょう。マスターを失ったからな。
Spoken like a condemned criminal, terrified of the ultimate punishment. I don't want this, he says. The servant genuinely begs me to help then. With a tearing sound, he transforms into a hideous monster. Huh. So is that it? All the shadows are versions of himself that have failed to complete something? Is that why they're so focused on Emiya, because of the possessing thing?
お前は一体。
He's the same. The Serpent Avenger's entire body is melting, morphing into the shape of one of those beasts.
こうして俺は失敗する。よく見ておけ、エミヤシロ。これが正体だ。俺は無限に失敗する。俺は無限に死に続ける。
Interesting. I'm remembering that scene from very early on, where it's like, wow, this scene is like written in a weird way, where it sort of sounds like he's the one doing it, but it also made it sound like the shadow is the one doing it. I feel as though that had to have been on purpose, that scene. It was so weird at the time, how it was written. It was like it was so intentionally going out of its way.
この俺がいる限り、聖杯戦争が終わることはない。
One shadow for... You too! One shadow for every, failure he's had, probably, something like that. His body is shivering. The thing that used to be Avenger, despite being terrified by the surrounding beast and bleeding profusely all over its body, holds onto its sanity, and continues to cry out.
いいか、天の杯に至れ。
Tonight?
虚無を埋めろ。やめろ。聖杯を満たせ。やめろ。やめろ。可能性を皆殺しにしろ。やめろ。見えない。もう何も見えない。そうだ。本物の俺を殺しに来い。やめて。来ないでよ。殺しに来たら殺してやる。
The black shadow is being devoured by the beast. The ceremony did not take much time. The beasts are disappearing one by one, then finally, in its place. lacking all signs of intelligence, a new hideous creature is crouching in front of me. Our eyes met. The creature tilts its head curiously, then hops into the bushes like a frog. That's an unfortunate fate. Is every new Avenger, then, an actual new one? He's not actually going back in time? He's just replicating himself for every possibility or something like that? I'm the only one left in the square. Honestly, the mechanics of this just... how exactly does this work? Bazett's body's disappeared without a trace as well. Return to the first day, probably. I mean the place below the, shrine... Or... maybe the moon? The words are familiar. Heaven's Cup. In the Holy Grail War 6 months ago, there was a little girl that went by that name. That should be the last piece of this puzzle. On that day, awaiting its end with the break of dawn. In the winter castle where the little girl waits, the last path will be revealed. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Learn the truth behind the ruins? The ruins? What did that have to do with ruins? What ruins? There's been multiple ruins, I suppose, but... Huh. Interesting. Oh, hey. Lots of choices. Okay. Let's do this. There is a hole in my chest. Ah, right. Going back to her perspective. Something warm is spilling out of the wound, and something cold invades me in its place. A dreadful yet calming feeling. This is death. I feel a little pain, and a little comfort in this peaceful darkness. It was 8 days before the beginning of the Fifth Holy Grail War. I arrived in the city of Fuiki, and began preparing for the battle. After learning the topography of the location, I decided on the hiding place that would become my base. With everything perfectly prepared, I summoned a servant. Unlike all the work I've done until now, this process made my heart swing. It was not the joy and anticipation of fighting. Two things happened that made me happy for the first time about my duties. You told me to cross the ocean. You said to travel around the world, a wide world. Uncertain of myself, I asked in trepidation if he was in any way dissatisfied with having to form a contract with me. To which the servant I summoned replied.
昔、一度だけ女戦士と肩を並べて戦ったことがあってな。あんたには、あの女の面影がある。
His laughter felt so good. It made my unease feel ridiculous. It's not that I was betrayed. It's just that they had unshakable hearts from the very beginning. I was all show, and never decided on the self that every person must have by the time they reach adulthood. I never had any confidence. Focusing entirely on forging the armor of my autonomous self, I was never able to forge my living self. My inner self, weak and cowardly, I have been disappointed by the world ever since the moment I was born. You go through each day as if it was work, my father used to say. That's because I had given up. I was unable to hope, and by having no hope, I let every day pass me by. But that's because I was scared of everything. In truth, I wanted to be rewarded more than anybody else, and yet I continued deceiving myself, pretending to be wise. In truth, I could have enjoyed those days like an ordinary person would, yet I continued averting my eyes because I would lose it all one day. In truth, being like this was so easy. I want to overcome this weakness so much that I've accepted that I can't bear. Oh, this is either or. That I'll live out my life to live my life. feeling this miserable, feeling so miserable. To be honest, I didn't want to die. And then I fall down into this place. The hell I kept on tasting with every repetition. The bottom of the pot made solely from the resentment and hatred of the dead for all living beings. Being here is painful. It cannot possibly be compared with the previous sense of peace. Having suffered through death already, I feel like I lose my mind having to suffer here afterwards. It lasts for but a few minutes before revival, yet this feeling still makes me nauseous every time. The first time I experienced it, I called it hell.
あれが地獄と呼ばれる地点なのかわからない。ただおぞましく汚らしかった。意識のある者にはあれは最低の土木です。
But that's not right. This is not hell. This is not the place that dead fall down to. My hell and my rebirth was the peace I felt a while ago. That's why this, I had realized it long ago, his...
そうなんだ。参ったな。俺は特別感じないけど、気がついたらここにいるって感じで。
Okay. Because he's full of anger and hate and all that fun stuff. Oh, I get it. This is where he came from. The way the thing called I Remind You was before putting on its disguise. This is the place where he remained before forming a contract with me. And this is where he will return once our contract ends. This false world. Yet there is no pain for it in him. Yet there's no pain in it for him. A place that is nothing but suffering to a human like me does not bother him in the slightest. This memory is his everyday life. Prison, plunder, abuse, contempt, and eternal void. And at the end of the suffering, having affirmed the ugly side of humanity, a selfless trance. Oh, is it like re-experiencing? Oh, is that it, in a sense? Is it not even... So, okay, is this a possibility? They're going back in the 4 days, but what if they're really going back all the way to the beginning of him? She's experiencing it sort of in a different way because she's not really there. But it's really just going through his life until the point she shows up there, yeah? Something like that. No happiness, no sadness, not to mention suffering. Nothing exists there. This is the pure land. This was the life of a certain youth, said to be the epitome of all the evil in the world. But all that blank space is already starting to get filled. Once the picture is finished, he will simply return to that place. No matter how artificial it may be, this Holy Grail war is his ideal world. I don't trust the likes of him anymore. But I wonder why he is trying to make that wish end. Okay, I wake up from my slumber. So, I mean, it still sounds... Okay, so it still is him, but it's also not him, and etc. And the reason it doesn't feel like he goes through anything is because it's not really... He doesn't actually go back in time. It's just all the various... No, does he? No, it seems like he remembers everything, though. Maybe it's the same thing where he's picking up memories in the way Emiya does. Mechanics of fantastical, mystical stuff in this series. Like, I want to get it, but it's all so... It's not attempting to sit down and be like, okay, this is how it works at any given point in time. And it feels like it just keeps piling on more concepts onto each other, to the point that I'm sort of inclined to believe that there really isn't, for a lot of the details at least, any thought put into how and why it works in the system, other than, well, this is where, okay, I guess it's more the, not thought put into, not a matter of thought being put into how or why it works, but more a matter of this is how it works is also the answer to this is why it works, basically. No, maybe they're just frozen solid. I was in the most vivid death. That was the most vivid death I had until now. Yet I also feel calmer than ever before. No, maybe they're just frozen solid. Both my reason and emotion. The way I am now, I can do anything, no doubt.
よう、起きたかマスター。落ち着いているようで何よりだ。
Same as always. I can see Avenger's figure in the corner of the room occupied with a puzzle. It's getting on my nerves. He's supposed to be my familiar, yet he does nothing the way I want him to. If you originally formed this shadow, how about I lock you up in an insect cage?
お、まだやる気満々みたいだな。打たれ強いね、実際。元サーバントに殺されたっていうのに、全然答えてないみたいだ。
Wicked laughter. A flame lights up again in my chilled mind. What I can't let slide is his loose manners. It's the air of a villain that he assumes.
なぜですか、アンリマユ。この聖杯戦争は私だけの望みではない。いえ、今では私以上に望む者がいるはずだ。私にはわからない。私たちの望みは同じなのに、どうして終わらせようとするのです。
I shout with clenched fist. More than why I had been betrayed, I want to know how he feels. And yet...
飽きた。つまんね
え。I am Avenger. I mean, there is actually. If the point of all the events being overwhelming is to make you sort of bored with them, not necessarily because they're bad, but because there's just so much of it. Like, you could live the same 4 days and always find something new that's just as interesting as the things you did previously, but just doing the same 4 days and all that sort of stuff without any feeling of progression, I totally get that. It's something I've said in this series, I'm sure, as well as other series I've done, where there's an element to doing stuff where I just feel like I want to progress. I like that feeling of progression that comes with advancing the main story. If I feel like I'm static and I'm still and I'm not achieving anything, that will make things just start feeling so much less enjoyable than they would otherwise. I feel like I've done a good job at keeping it fresh in this last little bit, and I feel like I've gotten to the point where I feel satisfied, at the very least, to move into what I'm doing now. So I'm happy enough with how I've handled it in this, for my own personal enjoyment. But it is something that if that's intentional, that's interesting game design. I'll say that. Heat utters right away. Up until now, I've done nothing short of a stellar job of hiding my own emotions.
アベンジャー。
そう睨むなよ。ほら、あんたもいい加減満足しただろ。念願の聖杯戦争を楽しんで、大抵の顛末を味わった。けどさ、ここにはあんたに必要だったものは何一つなかった。まあ、なんだ。俺から切り出すのは使い魔としてルール違反なんだが、そろそろいいだろう。契約を破棄しようぜ、マスター。それで、この話はおしまいだ。
And then I have a choice to tear it up, I do it, and then game over. My save is deleted. Knowing full well what it means, Avenger holds out his hand. I cannot do this. I've crossed paths with many up until this point, but once I've taken another's hand, I cannot let it go.
アベンジャー。あなた、まだ私が見えている。
Avenger's body wavers ever so slightly. As I thought, he's all but returned to the void already.
言っておきますが、私はこの聖杯戦争を止めるつもりはありません。
そうか。マスターがそう言うなら契約は続けるしかない。しかし、こうなると聖杯戦争の本当の勝者に、また聖杯を壊してもらうしかないか。
そんなことできるわけが。
できるよ。あいつは一度やってるからな。言っただろう。これは第5回目の再現なんだって。聖杯を壊したやつが聖杯までたどり着いたら、そりゃ壊れても不思議はないさ。
そう。それが。
You realize telling her means that she might even take action, Avenger. Avenger's last trump card. No, it's the final act before the curtain falls, planned from the very beginning.
アベンジャー。
ん
I pinned the black shadow to the wall.
もっと早くからこうすればよかった。あなたは私のサーバントなのに言うことを聞かなすぎた。
I leave no room for a counterattack. I'll use a command spell right now and there's no cage around to confine him in. Ah, in that case.
お前なんて私の左腕にでもなってしまえ。
Ooh. Does he disappear? With this, he can no longer go out and meet the winner of the Holy Grail War on his own. I don't want to die. I don't want to kill him either. Therefore, from here on, I will protect the Holy Grail.
契約は破棄しない。アンリ、この世界を止めるというなら、あなたであろうと。
Come, let us continue the Holy Grail War. The Holy Grail is mine. This wish is mine. I won't let anyone destroy them. Hollow Ataraxia. I forget what people said Ataraxia meant. Oh, hey, first day! Which means I can go out and hang with Shinji. Yeah, no. No. Do I need to go there at night or something? I mean, the implication of that scene is that he shouldn't be able to possess Emiya anymore, right? So he shouldn't have that opportunity to go in a... Interesting. Yes, I'm bringing Saber out of cowardice. Hey, Karen, was that what your name was? Are you here? No matter how often I come here, the church is always the same. Saber hasn't noticed anything either. There's nothing here. Let's go elsewhere. Hopefully I'll have a definite objective the next time I'm here. Well, that was new. It was definitely new. Okay. Maybe Saber being with me. I saw a light on up there. Okay. I guess not. Basically, it changed up for me dying, so that's why it's new. And that's the beginning and end of that. Oh, hello there, Big Bridge. Let's go beat Big Bridge together. In the middle of the bridge, something strange catches my eye. I stop and stare, but can't possibly understand what their intention is.
何やってんだ、あいつ。
I leave it alone. It'll come back to bite me. If I leave it alone, it'll come back. If I leave it alone, it'll come back to bite me later. As a friend, I should at least give a word of caution. As a friend? Oh, I figured it would be Archer, but who could this be then?
ありゃ見るからに不審なのが雲みたいによじ登ってくるかと思えばエミヤさんちのシロ君じゃない。
Nice to meet you for the first time, too. Are you in the middle of the road? Is that what Emi is concerned about? That you're just sitting in the middle of a highway?
どうしたのこんなところにやってきて。ここ車道だから危ないわよ。あ、それともダイブ？
No, that's Saber's job to jump from here. Suddenly, I feel drained. For her to seriously worry that I'm gonna jump off, I just don't get her thought process.
あのな、遠坂。友人の身を案じてやってきた人間にその反応はないんじゃないのか？あと、危ないのはそっちの方だ。
え？嘘？さっきの見てたの？エミヤ君。
What, being in the middle of the road? I'm talking to you!
じゃあ、見えちゃった？ずっと見てた？ バッチリ見てたのね、こっちくしょー。
Whoa, what were you covering? Wait, what do you think? What? What? Wait, what? Oh, no! 0.2 seconds after I tilted my head in confusion at Tasaka's eccentric behavior. A single punch as if to counterattack made explosive contact with the side of my head.
すみません、誤解でした。
Yeah, you want to explain it so I can understand? Sorry, she lowers her arms to her side with a slight bow. In addition to her study of Chinese martial arts, it seems like Tasaka has taken up karate too.
いや、すごいぞ、遠坂。全身を使い切った理想的な右フックだった。頬骨にひび入ってるかもしんない。
Perfect. Good thing we can go back in time again. I don't say it, but I tell her through the look in my eyes that her feelings alone aren't enough to earn my forgiveness by noting that my cheek might have been fractured.
だからごめんってば。今のは全面的に私が悪かったです。東西南北、上から下まで不注意でした。
It is unusual to hear such an earnest apology from Tasaka. I think she just wants to move on from the subject. Troubling people like a hobby for this red devil. Troubling people is like a hobby for this red devil, but the moment when one of her careless mistakes ends up making trouble for someone, she becomes unexpectedly meek. And at times like these, Tasaka tends to do whatever she pleases, but unfortunately, the place she chose is a 2-lane roadway with a 60km/h speed limit where even the slightest negligence can get you run over.
まあ、今後はもうちょい行動を遅めるように。考え即殴るでは、あなたの今後が心配です。
We're still in the road, aren't we? Not so much for her future as those of the innocent people in her near vicinity.
失礼ね。普段はもっと冷静よ。
Oh, you want to explain why you weren't?
今のだって見てたのがシロじゃなかったらストップかかったわ。
何？遠坂の中じゃ俺は無条件で有罪扱いなのか？
So it's only my future I have to worry about. Got it.
ああ、そうじゃなくて、他の人だったら慌てなかったというか、そんなに恥ずかしくなかったというか、ああ、いや、誰であろうと有罪なのは確かなんだけど、
You are dangerously close to admitting something.
いまいち要領を得ないな。
Have you admitted it in this existence at all?
つまり、さっきの誤解においては、俺だけ罪が重いと。
そうよ。そうだってシロ、目いいじゃない。
What? What? So that's it? At this point, even I can understand what's going on. After eating that devastating punch, I explained I had just gotten here and she entered self-loathing mode. After that, she refused to say anything, but don't ask me why, but...
わからんな。なんで鉄骨の上になんて登ってたんだ？そんなに普通の車道は退屈か？
Oh, was she climbing up? Oh, okay. Is that it? She was climbing up one of the freaking beams? And she thought that you had saw her panties or some shit like that? Hey, Tosaka, if you ever want to climb up something in the future and you're worried about people seeing your motherfucking panties, I don't care what's on them. Give me a little teddy bear, I don't know. Whatever. Wear pants. Or some equivalent. Bullseye, huh? Wait, really? She's... what? Apparently before I arrived, Tasaka had been elegantly observing the city below from on top of that steel arch.
いつになく鋭いじゃない、エミヤ君。やっぱり、初めから見てた？
初めから見てたならすぐに止めてる。いくら遠坂でもあそこを登っていくのは無茶だ。サーカスじゃあるまいし、落ちたらシャレじゃ済まないぞ。まったく、あんまり心配させないでくれ。
Are we still in the middle of the road? Idiot. I hit her head with a light chop. Well, that seems to run in the family. By family, I mean Emiya's family, which she's basically a part of now. How much more of an idiot did you become when she became sort of pseudo-related to Emiya by proxy? Tasaka took my chop without complaint. Well, what can I say? It's impolite to say this, but Amik Tasaka isn't bad either.
何のつもりかは知らないけど、次は普通に歩いてくれ。それでさっきの右フックは帳消しにしよ
そうね。約束はできないけど、ここぞという時以外は控えとく。ま、下調べはもう十分だしね。
Saying I can't make any promises is just like her. At the very least, it means there's a possibility of her climbing that arch once more.
う。なあ、もしかして遠坂、俺が話した怪物たちを調べてるのか？
ちょっと、どうしたのよ一体。今日に限ってえらく勘がいいじゃない。鉄骨の上にいたのはともかく、なんでそれが使い魔たちとつながるのよ。
いや、なんていうか、それは。
Damn. I met someone here before doing the exact same thing as Asaka, but I'm not sure if I should tell her that.
それは？
それは、アーチャーのやつが似たようなことをやってたから。
Who we haven't seen in a while. Let alone with Tasaka. I knew she'd react like this. The relationship between Tasaka and Archer isn't really something you can easily explain. Even though their contract has been called off, there's no sign that either of them has canceled it. So, like, now they show interest in the same things while pretending not to notice each other, insisting it's a relationship of give and take.
挨拶にすら来ないと思ったら、またつまらないおせっかいを焼いてるわけね。それで、あいつはなんて言ってたの？エミヤ君。
Oh, you want to hear about how he tried to kill me?
何って、そうだな。具体的には何も。あの怪物たちを敵視しているくせに、あれは倒してもキリがないとか、無害だから放っておけとか。
他には？エミヤ君の言う怪物たちの大元が何であるか知ってる素振りだった？
それはないと思う。怪物たちの目的が何であるか知りたいとか、そんな段階だった。
は？ここを下調べしてるのにまだそんなことに気づいてないの？そいつらの目的なんて一つだけじゃない。
Oh, do tell me.
待った、驚くのはこっちの方だ。遠坂はあの怪物たちの目的がわかるのか？
ええ、理由はわからないけど目的なら明白じゃない。
Just say it.
エミヤ君、あなたから聞いた話じゃ、その怪物たちはあなたしか殺していないんでしょ？
Did I tell you that? I don't remember.
まあそれはそうだけど。
なら話は簡単よ。4日目の夜にだけ現れて4日間の異常を感じ取ってるエミヤ君だけを狙う怪物、そいつらはね、あなたにクリアさせないために集まってきてるのよ。
For some reason, I felt a chill go down my spine. Just as she says, those monsters have only been killing me. This shouldn't be surprising at all. Alternatively, if we're looking at what happened with Avenger previously, it could be less so that they're going after me, but more so going after the Avenger inside me. Yes, Avenger's inside me. I mean, that seems fairly obvious. And they could just be doing the exact same thing they did to him in that last one. Right? That would make some sense. But to stop you from clearing it, something about that phrasing was nauseatingly repulsive.
もっともだから何って感じだけど、その怪物を見たいんだけど、いくら探しても見つからないし。
Because it's not like they're going after Archer. If the problem's with Emiya, and it's like a personal grudge or something like that, you think about it, if you're not treating Archer as an enemy, then same idea, right?
アーチャーのやつ、どうやって見つけたのかしらね。
Well, that's true. I feel like, well, so, it's not because he's Emiya, yeah? That's not the reason, because Miss Old Medusa found them too, yeah? Maybe it's something having to do with being close enough to them. Some semblance of resonance. Because I felt like that was a big part of what Ryder had, like at the end there when she saw Avenger and all that fun stuff too. There's like some side or something like that was incredibly vague on what the hell was going on with that, but you know. Archer had taken a position on the roof of Shinto Center building and sniped at the monsters trying to invade. Without the great field of vision from that building's roof and Archer's hawk eyes, the discovery would have been difficult.
それで他には何か言ってた？
Are we still in the middle of the road?
一人じゃもう無理とか、そろそろ誰かの手を借りに行くとか、そういうの。
そういうのはなかったな。
You wanna go help him?
あ、口にはしないけど、竜道寺を睨んでたっけ？
竜道寺？そっか。使い魔たちが溢れ出るのはそっちの方角なわけね。
Oh, okay. I don't remember that happening, but okay. I remember Issei's ghost story. The Kageyama in Trail Graveyard. The mountain used to abandon old women to die where not even the dead are buried. What is left is a mountain discarded me. Ugh. Truly, it is a suitable graveyard for those creatures.
OK。大体の状況は飲み込めたわ。怪物が見つけられないのは痛いけど、ま、最後の最後には目の当たりにするだろうし。
Yes, in so many ends. Tasaka stretches lazily, as if to say there's no point investigating here anymore.
私は帰るけど、エミヤ君はどうするの？一緒に帰る？
いや、まだ町に用事がある。ここで別れよう。
さ、じゃあまた後で。あんまり寄り道しないで帰ってくるのよ。
Got it. Tasaka heads to the footbridge. Jumping over there is no problem with her athletic prowess, but she really should pick better clothes. Ones that are better suited for these kind of stunts. Well, leaving that aside.
おい、アーチャーのことはいいのか？
別にいいわよ。あいつが何していようと私には関係ないし。エミヤ君もあいつに期待なんかしちゃダメよ。思わせぶりな行動ばっかりで、いざって時は何もしないやつなんだから。
Ouch. That feels personal.
じゃあ遠坂には期待していいのか？
もちろん。乗りかかった船だもの。あなたが最後までたどり着くのなら、その時はできる限り力を貸すわ。
Without hesitation, Tasaka jumps over the footbridge and lands with a soft thump. I swear to goodness, if winning or losing this is actually dependent on her thinking I saw her panties. I know she probably would say yes otherwise, but my goodness. That would be a fun cause and effect that even Gay Bold would probably be just like, man, I would not have even thought of that. This is different than that time with Archer. Leaving behind a feeling of refreshment, the red matches gracefully exit the stage. Okay, that's probably a good place for me to end this. After we go look at the wallpaper. Yeah, that's probably it, isn't it? I feel like that. I haven't seen that one before. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it there for today. I don't know when the next one of these will come out. It's entirely dependent on me needing to record other series, and hopefully I can get those out in a relatively timely manner, and things will calm down to the point that I can actually, finish stuff and actually record stuff and edit and etc, etc. So, that'll be what it is for the time being, so I'll see you all next time. Drive safely, everyone.